This is Jerry Fry, audio historian of Pacific Pioneer Broadcasters. The following is the professional history of a PPB member told by himself in his own fashion on June the 18th of 2012. These interviews are being recorded in order to compile firsthand a living history of the members of our organization and stories of their professional experiences. Many of our members began in what is called the golden age of radio and television, and this is an attempt to preserve as much data as possible for succeeding generations. This recording is not intended for broadcast without first obtaining permission from Pacific Pioneer Broadcasters. With me today in Studio City, California, is Jim MacGeorge, a member of the board of directors of the Pacific Pioneer Broadcasters, and a man who has gotten a lot of notoriety for his resemblance to an old-time movie actor by the name of Stan Laurel of Laurel and Hardy fame. Jim, it's nice to have you with us today.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Jim, we start at the beginning of these little interviews by asking where you were born and when, and a little bit about your growing up period.
I was raised in Seattle, Washington.
Were you?
And I just came back after 2 weeks up there a week ago.
Mm-hmm.
And my brother, we had a memorial for his wife, and I saw the rain again.
Yeah,
and
clean rain.
Yeah, and a little sunshine, you know, and it's a pretty country.
Well, I'm from Spokane, so I know the area.
We have my brother's daughter married to a man. They have two physical equipment companies in Spokane.
Did they?
Yeah,
Oh.
I love Spokane.
Yeah.
Yeah, and my father was deceased when I was 13.
Really?
And then we moved down to across from Green Lake.
What did your father do before he passed away?
He was vice president of Seattle Tent and Awning Company. And a funny thing about timing, his death was Christmas Eve of 41. And he had just signed a large contract for canvases to help cover the hulls of ships. And he made pup tents and sleeping bags. Mm-hmm. And so it was untimely, but for that reason. But we keep going, and we went to Lincoln High School up there, my brother. In
Green Acres?
Huh?
Green Acres, did you say?
No, it was Green Lake.
Oh, Green Lake.
Yeah, and we lived out at 144th and 3rd Avenue near Seattle Golf Course growing up.
Okay.
I played golf early.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember first caddy from my dad. He said, "Are you good at finding?" He was Scottish, and my mother was Irish, which means I've always had a desperate need for a drink. I just couldn't bring myself to pay for it.
Yeah.
And he said, "Are you good at finding balls, lad?" And I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Well, go find us a ball, and we can get started."
Mm-hmm.
You know, so.
Sure.
But he was a good man, and.
Your mother was a housewife?
Huh?
Your mother was a housewife?
Yes, yeah, and it was pretty rough after that. When I just finished 35 psychology books because I lost my wife 9 years ago, and I wanted to know that world.
Mm.
And you look back at the truth of what times were, and then you come back to the present moment and be grateful that you're living in the present moment. See, that's the fun of it.
Yeah.
And I played.
You have brothers and sisters?
Just my brother.
Brother.
And we're totally different. I'm out there, and I was doing assembly committees, and I was active in those areas. And he's kind of a math. He let us slide rule, and he's always in math, and he's serious and everything. Can't tell a joke worth a darn.
Mm.
But he became an orthodontist.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Show you how life is. We didn't know many people when Dad left. And we had one friend of the family, and that man said, "Dentistry is pretty stable." And with that one line, he went to 12 years of school.
Wow, amazing.
So we have to be our own people to try and follow through with what we start.
When did you start telling jokes?
I was doing it way back, and I was at a shindig just recently in Palm Springs, and the daughter of the high school drama coach, lady, was there. And, and this lady, I only took 1 or 2 courses from her, and she said I was one of 3 people she thought would do well. Now that's amazing.
Yes.
Way back in high school, and I was doing a lot of assembly committee and so forth. But someone who's in the think tank at Stanford. I'm a member of the Bohemian Club in Northern California, and the Hoover Institute. And he said, "You're committed to comedy." I said, "No, I'm committed to a good life."
Good.
And you try and do what you can and back away when you have to and take it easy and not to get to, because you want to live the life in the present moment, not 2 months from now when you have a job.
Sure. So you did your elementary school in Seattle?
Yeah, I did the Ronald Grade School, and
high school.
And high school at Lincoln.
Were you active in drama or anything like that?
Well, I only took 2 courses, and I tell you, I made mistakes because I didn't realize how much of life is learned. You have to learn it, either from parents, from somebody, a tutor. There are only 3 ways to learn: the streets, a book, and a tutor, right? So if you're going to learn something, you want to study music, go to music classes. If you want to study drama, study some drama. Make it your own after that, but just get the basics. And I had those several courses, and I went to the University of Washington. And I took theater speech.
Theater speech.
And what I did was I fudged a little, because all I did was Ronald Colman.
Oh, really?
"Ah, this is a dagger which I hold in my hand. Then I say, let it be done," and so. And they thought it was very good, gave me an A. And I played on the golf team in high school and played a year of football. I hurt my back.
Did you?
Yeah. And I played in basketball. I played on the team that won the All-State.
Oh, good.
In 1945.
For heaven's sake.
I was number 7 man. And the coach said, "Keep him loose, Jim. Keep him loose."
Keep him loose.
And I remember that I had a joke once. I said, there was a whole section that were yelling at this championship game. They were saying, "MACGEORGE, MACGEORGE, MACGEORGE." And the coach says, "Hey, McGeorge, come here." I said, "What is it, coach?" He said, "Go over there and find out what they want." I said, "Okay."
And did you find out?
Yeah, they wanted me to sit back down because we were winning.
Oh, man.
And, there were, I tell you, in my studies, the single most important item that I read in 35 books, if you did not see warmth and affection and intimacy between your parents growing up, when you get older, you have all these feelings and you don't know how to show them. And people that have seen the warmth and affection think everyone has. But over 64% of the people I ask say no.
Really?
No, did not see any. And you'll find out the marriages suffer and everything because they don't know how to show, they don't know how to say, "I love you." They don't know how to say, "How are you?" And it's hard. But so you keep trying, you keep learning.
Sure.
Sure. Learn.
So after high school, did you say you went on to University of Washington?
Washington, yeah. I became a Fiji, Phi Gamma Delta.
Okay.
And I think it was through my brother, because I had an accident in the summer before that. I was building rockeries with a small jitney crew. And I was cranking up an 800-pound rock, and they were lowering it into place, landscaping a home. And I reached under for the brake, and the handle came loose and hit me in the skull twice, broke my skull, broke my nose in 7 places, broke my upper jaw, and I had and when I woke up 5 days later, I said, "Gee, I'm hungry," and I looked like Stan Laurel. And I made a lot of money with Stan Laurel doing that, He was a friend of mine.
Stan was?
Yeah, we go out and visit, and he had a lot of courage. He had a wonderful laugh. I said to Stan one day, he said, "What's going on, lad?" And he had a peculiar way of answering the door. I would call him, he said, "Come on out, lad, and we'll visit." So he was at the Ocean Apartments. So I would go downstairs, and they would call up and say, "Jim McGeorge is here." He said, "Send him up." So I would go upstairs, I'd knock on the door. And he said, "How are you, lad?" Everyone was called lad. Hello, lad. And I said, I'm fine. How are you? He said, hell, my life is over. Come on in.
Huh.
He would always say, my life is over. Come
Really?
on in. Yeah. Because Hardy was gone.
Yeah.
And this was 1959 to 65. And I told him, he said, what are you working on, lad? And I said, well, I wrote a little thing for George Goebel. And he said, well, neighbors, have you ever been driven to the point of despair? Well, I've been driven to Hesperia, San Luis Obispo. I went out, I had a fire in the kitchen, and I went out to the car to get a fire extinguisher, and this fellow backed into me, hooked my bumper, and away we went. And we went up the coast, and I never been up that fast before. And he had to slow down for the Golden Gate Bridge, and he said, saw me back there, and he said, you've been following me since San Luis Obispo. And I said, I've been behind you since you left L.A. And he said, congratulations, I just won the Coast Highway Speed Race, you came in second. And I made a quick U, and it turned out so well. I made an M and an L, and I spelled out help, you know.
Oh, my God.
And anyway, he said, sell it to Goebel, lad. Take it to your nose manager. And I said, yeah, and I took it down there. See? And I talked to George later, and he said, I didn't see it. Yeah. But Stan would, and Stan would ask you a question and then laugh. He had that wonderful laugh now. He had a stroke earlier. But he said, that's a funny bit, lad. He said, tell it to Goebel. If he doesn't want it, use it yourself and make it a fire engine. And I could feel the encouragement, the support system. Anyway, interesting.
Yes, very interesting. So at the University of Washington, you studied dramatics and speech.
No, I took one course.
That was just one course?
Yeah, and I got there, and I said, it's too easy. I'm not supposed to do that. I'm supposed to do something hard.
So,
and I made a big mistake.
So you didn't finish?
And I was doing shows there and everything, and around there, and I make this stuff up, and a lot of gut wrenching, you know. It was very hard because you have to try and figure out what the whole thing's about. And then I went into a little business, and
what was your business?
It was just business law, studying in school, and then I had two friends there. We did a show, and they went down to Hollywood. And when I was just after my third year, and we said, we need you down here. We got a big show going on. So I got in the car and drove down. And I went to work at standard gas stations when I got here. I always had to have an income, you know. And then I went to the Hollywood Canteen one night, which is just, I was at a station across from the Hollywood Athletic Club on Sunset. And after work, I walked in and went into Hollywood, and I met a fellow named Walker Edmonston. And Walker's now just departed. And we started doing some voices. He was a good voice man.
Really?
Did a great Henry Fonda and some of the, well, I tell you, moi, and I, you know. I did a little bit of Jimmy Stewart, you know. And I did a Sidney Greenstreet. I said, well, my friend, come closer. I like a man who thinks of himself first. You are that kind of man. And he said, God, that's good. And anyway, I forgot what, we did a lot of them, see.
Where was the Hollywood Canteen?
Sunset. South of Franklin or east of Franklin.
Okay.
Across my, and he introduced me to Bob Clampett, who produced Time for Beanie. And I auditioned for Bob. I auditioned at Hanna-Barbera one day. I did a lot of work at Hanna-Barbera, cartoon voiceover.
Voices.
And I had a friend of mine that was in the recording area of the studio. And I saw him later. And he said, you're the worst auditioner I've ever seen. You know, through time you have habits that you form by what happened to you. And you've got to be your own person in this world, you know. You got your own two legs and you walk on them, you have your own opinions, and that's good.
Yeah.
So anyway, I would always get the job, but after that I tried to give it 110%. And I did one series at Hanna-Barbera. Dawes Butler and Stan Freberg were doing the basic voices for Time for Beanie. And then they left because of a contractual problem. And they had to fill that. So I ended up doing Dawes Butler's voices because they were harder to do. They're straight. Like Beanie was, no, you know, and I don't do it. The Dawes was wonderful. And Stan was terrific. But we did all the cartoons. And I was doing, golly, Uncle Captain, sure looks spooky out there. Well, Beanie Boy, I'm going to my hiding box. Cecil, take care of little old Beanie. I'll take care of my best little old pal. Oh, golly, Cece. You know, no, we did it, but they were at the beginning, and they did it very well. Mm-hmm. And then I ended up doing a thing called Bionic. I did, I don't know, 7, 8 series over there. And I ended up, I was doing a Bionic 6, a show called Bionic 6. And they used George C. Scott as the bad guy, Dr. Scarab. Now, we'll get those little devils, we'll put them in the dungeon, and they'll never get out. This character caught on, so they kept writing to him. And I had a scene. This is how you learn on it, you know. It's what you learn. Humility means the ability to learn. And I'm not all that. I didn't start off with Mr. Bright Guy. And we had a big scene, and I said, we'll get those devils, and we'll put them behind bars, and they'll never get out. And I couldn't say it. We'll get those little devils. Take 4. We'll get those. And there were 13 people there in this cast. And I said, I can't say this line. And they all broke up laughing. Really? Very serious, you know, cartoon.
Sure.
And so when it was over, I said to the lady behind me, do you have tongue twisters? Because what it really was, is that accident I had. I had to have 2 teeth extracted from the lower to be able to bite. Had to draw all those teeth back. So I had a little excess room, and my diction was not that great. So she said, yeah, try red leather, yellow leather. Have you ever said that?
No.
Red leather, yellow leather.
Red leather, yellow leather.
Now a little faster. Red leather, yellow leather.
Red leather, yellow leather.
Red leather, yellow leather.
Red leather, yellow leather. It's not easy.
Yeah, no. Red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather, red leather. And I had to do that in the car, see?
Yeah.
And then Big Brother's bottle blue bugs blood, Big Brother's bottle blue bugs blood, Big Brother's bottle blue bugs blood. Now my lip is a little numb on the upper, so I'm not that good at it, but it helps. Everything helps.
Yeah. Boy.
Yeah. And Peggy Babcock, baby, you know. And I have to do it today. I did a show Saturday, and I did it before I go up there.
Just to get the articulators working.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, and especially at the trigeminal neuralgia where this is now.
Did we talk about what you did at the Hollywood Canteen? You said you went over there. What did you do?
I went in, and I'm all alone now. You know, we've all done it. Everyone's walked that pike alone. And they're wondering where they're going to end up at the end of the pike, see? So it's just kind of fun. So I went in just to look it over, and I met Walker, and his wife had paralysis. She had crutches, and she's a singer, and she sang a song. She said, my wife's going to sing a song. And we watched her sing, and we talked. And from that, he introduced me to Bob Clampett, who produced Time for Beanie. And we did a show called Willie the Wolf, and another show. And then when Stan left, we took over the Beanie Voices and all of that, see. That was the beginning down here. And I'm doing commercials.
What kind of commercials?
We did a few radio spots, and then Chuck McCann and I did. We did 13 years doing Anco windshield wipers as Laurel and Hardy live.
Really?
That was on camera.
You and he were a team.
We were a team. He saw my picture. He knew Stan Laurel, and he called me and said, "I'm coming to Hollywood. Meet me at near Sunset and Vine." There was a theater there, and I'm walking down with his face, and he's walking. And he's right away we knew.
Mm-hmm.
And we had did a lot of work together. And then we did the Sizzler campaign, and very lucrative. And you know, Stan went when he toured. He and Babe Hardy toured England and Europe. People found out they were on the train, and there were thousands of people at every station in 1936. And Stan said, "You know, I had no idea we were this famous. We deserve more money." And they were making like $5,000 apiece when they worked.
Yeah.
So he said, "I'm going to go to Roach and try and get more money."
Mm-hmm.
And he asked for $100,000 a show, and Roach said no. He said, "I'll team him with Babe Hardy and another comic," and they made a picture, but it didn't work. It's very close.
Yeah.
Competitive system.
Sure.
And so we had it's been good, and out of all that psychology, I ended up, and that's only the smattering of it. You know, that's not just enough to get you in trouble.
Yeah. Did you finish college at the university?
Huh?
Did you finish at University of Washington?
No, 3 years.
3 years.
I went 3 years and went down.
So once you came down to Hollywood, then you stayed.
Then I stayed here.
Yeah.
And I worked pretty steady, you know. And then somebody wanted me to do a cancer golf tournament charity, and I didn't know how to do it. It's a lot to it. You know who said it well? Richard Pryor said, "You can learn all the words, but it takes 10 years to learn timing." It's very hard.
Yeah.
Because and a lot of golf, I did an awful lot of golf tournaments, and we had a tournament called Warner Lambert, and we'd have it down in Florida one year, and then here in Palm Springs at Mission Hills one year, or Scottsdale or somewhere, but one year down there, and they would invite a lot of celebrities. It was a list that they had and a lot of sports figures. Joe DiMaggio was a friend, and Alvin Dark and Raleigh Fink, all those guys. We had, and I did the shows down there. See, so and then we come out and then they were bought by Pfizer. Yeah.
Or Pfizer.
Pfizer is right.
Pfizer. So in these golf tournaments, did you play in the tournaments?
Yeah.
And you also did a show?
Yeah, also did the show, and the people don't know it, but about the 14th hole, I'd have to start thinking show and forget golf.
Yeah, I bet.
Do you play golf?
No.
I played pretty well at one time. Yeah, I had once had a 65 out of Camarillo Springs with Bobby Troop, and that's a low score in golf. And his 2 sons, and every time I see them, he said, "I remember that day." See?
Really?
And so all in all, you're just happy to be living this day, to be here with you in the present moment is so important. And there's a sense I have that show business is either 2 months down the line, or 2 years back of you, or something back of you, or something up ahead of you.
Yeah.
But just to be able to sit here and talk to you is fun for me.
Good.
That's more fun than what I did. You know.
That's a wonderful, wonderful philosophy to have.
Did I tell you what my philosophies are now?
Yes.
You live your life in the present moment. You're grateful for that moment. Never judge yourself or judge others, especially yourself. And I had a terrible time with that. I used to judge myself. I missed a cue one time with Peter Marshall. We did a show, and I got in that car and I started yelling at myself. And my wife said, "Why?" They don't know the difference, but I didn't know the difference, see? So don't judge yourself. Do only the things you control. I don't control the weather. I don't control the other person. I control how heavy I eat, you know, how heavy I get. A little bit. And then the last thing was John Wooden was a good friend, Coach John Wooden. and a wonderful man. And he said the things you would give your loved ones are the things you should give yourself. There's no one to give you anything anymore, so you've got to give yourself some credit for living, and so that you can stand up and be heard, you know.
Yes.
And I told him, I said, Coach, I lost my wife. And he said, it will be a lifetime. And I have a thing in my wallet. Here it is. Timeless wisdom. And these are two sets of threes that his father gave him. And his father, he wrote a book called Wooden, in gold with a blue background, UCLA colors. And he coached at UCLA for maybe 25 years. Never once did he use the words win or lose. Never once. He said, success is peace of mind, which is a direct result of knowing you did your best to become the best you are capable of becoming. And he gave me this card. And he said, 2 sets of threes. His dad, never lie, never cheat, never steal, don't whine, don't complain, don't make excuses. And he says, be true to yourself, help others, make each day your masterpiece. And I mentioned that to him. He said, my dad gave me that. And the 7, I can't quite read them here.
Yeah. Fantastic. Now, back when you were a child and your father died suddenly, how did your mother make do? What?
That was pretty rough. And he had signed for that canvas I mentioned earlier. I don't know, 200,000 or something.
Ooh.
And they bought him out of the company for very little because his name was on there and hadn't been paid for yet. See? And so she did the best she could, and Tom and I both worked when we could. You know, we were working all the time, caddying. I worked landscaping Mrs. Remington Green's house, her husband produced a Remington rifle in Seattle. And I worked all the time. And I fished in Alaska commercially.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. And logging in a logging firm up in Ellensburg. And yeah, we were up there, and they had a big rock, and they said, you guys, we drilled a hole, you take the dynamite and put it in those holes. We don't know what we're doing. But it can't go off without a cap, right?
Yeah.
That's what we think. And it's true. So I did a lot of stuff. And I talked to Paul Winchell one day. Paul was a good friend, or Jerry Mahoney.
Right.
He said, I had infantile paralysis, and I so envy your ability to be able to go out and work. It's a very tough thing. And you know, it's not all soft. You have to look down at that. I told Coach Wooden, I said, I'm studying psychology. He said, good, I was a psychology major at Purdue University. And I have more peace of mind today than I've ever had. And there was some drinking in the background, you know. And you're not sure how to handle all of that. So now all you do is sit there, they're your legs, and you enjoy this day, the present moment.
Right.
Yeah.
How did you meet your wife?
Huh?
How did you meet your wife?
I was in Toluca Lake, and there was a big restaurant there. Can't think of the name of it. Upgraded restaurant. And she was in there sitting, and I happened to see her. She was smiling, and I said to her, what happens when you stop smiling? She said, I don't know, and she just kept smiling. And she had some troubles with the ex-husband, who was not a nice guy. And I called her and said, don't come by, and I went over anyway, and he was in tough shape, you know, either from narcotics or something. Anyway.
Ex-husband, you said?
Huh?
Her ex-husband?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And And we started dating, and we got married. And I was older, a little older. And, I mean, I don't think I got married till I was 36. So there's a lot to life.
Yeah.
And you look right down, and the best advice that I was given from a man who studied depression and so forth. And when Vicky died, my wife died 7 years ago, the 22nd of this month, 9 years ago. And he said, look down in the heart of it, down where the love was, and the goodness, the pain, and the hurt, and the sorrow, and the happiness, and let the wind blow you aside. I like that.
Very nice.
Yeah. Because then Coach said it would be a lifetime.
Yeah.
And so you keep going on.
Did you have children?
No, she had a son.
She had a son?
And I adopted him, and he's in Phoenix. And the grandson is down in Orange County, and he's one of the head accountants for In-N-Out Burger.
Really?
And the daughter does some writing for different corporations. And they have 2 children, and the grandson has 2 children. My brother in Seattle has 3 kids, and one boy is a very good dentist and good golfer. He won the Seattle Country Club Championship the last 2 years.
Right.
And then he won the Senior Championship this last year. And the other boy is a stockbroker and takes care of my money up in Seattle. It's kind of nice to have someone in the family you can trust.
Yeah, yeah.
I talked to Dave GERRY one time. He said over half of the people he knows in show business, big names, have lost all their money through 4 people: agents, lawyers, accountants, and managers.
Isn't that amazing?
That's something.
Gosh. You read about these things and you wonder, how could that possibly happen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were so busy doing what they did. They said, you take care of everything else. Poor Doris Day had to have the Doris Day show to get retirement money. It's it's show business, right?
Yeah.
So right. Each person has to, when that fad goes out, you can't hang on to the fad. I got a bunch of hula hoops that aren't worth anything.
That's right. You never know, they might come back.
That's right. How was when we were at the luncheon today? Remember those couple of jokes I told there?
Yes.
I said I was talking to my neighbor, and I said, I was talking with Jack Lloyd back then, and I said, I love girls dressed in leather. God, you get right next to them and they smell like new golf bags. You know, God, I love that. And talking to my neighbor, and I said, how's it going? And he said, I don't know. I think I'm going to get a divorce. I said, why? He said, my wife hasn't spoken to me in 2 months. Well, think it over carefully. Those kind of women are hard to find.
Yes, you better believe it. So what was your best job in your career? The one you had the most fun doing?
Probably the Laurel and Hardy.
Laurel and Hardy.
Yeah, because we put on the derbies, and they'd pick us up in a limousine.
Really?
And we go out to the site and trip over a chord, and they think we're rehearsing. And I just love the naturalness of Sam Laurel. I mean, it was, you didn't know, there was very little pretense.
Yeah.
That's why he said my life's over. And he was Chaplin's understudy. I did the musical Chaplin with Anthony Newley at the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion. And I got wonderful notices because I know Stan so well, that character. But he was the interlocutor between the audience and Chaplin. I would tell the audience what Chaplin was all about and so forth. And I said, I remember my opening line. He does a big song, "Here can I tell you," and he does all of this. Right. And then the curtains close, and I bring out of bed. And I got the derby on and a nightgown and candles on my slippers. And I'm pulling the bed out, and I noticed the audience behind me. Now this is what Richard Pryor said. It takes 10 years to learn timing. So I figured this out. The audience is behind me. And I suddenly sensed that there's somebody out there. So I give a fourth look, then then a full look, and then I turn around and I raise my hands. And I would say, Charlie and I toured together. Now, if I held that for 5 seconds, there was absolutely full applause.
Really?
If I did it in 2 seconds, no. Charlie and I counted 5 people, 1, 2, mentally.
Mm-hmm.
And then they would applaud.
No, very.
Yeah, and it made them happier.
Sure. Yeah. Well, now you had the advantage of looking like Stan Laurel, but did you have to study his mannerisms and his timing?
Well, I had a lot of instinct in those areas. I don't know why. You know, no matter who I had to do, you know, whether, God, so many through the years. I used to do Gary Cooper, and I kind of figure man's got to do what he's got to do. And I could move my ear. Gary Cooper used to move his ear.
Oh.
See? Not many people know how to do that. But anyway, no, I just sense what they did. And the more, and when you're younger, you do more of this. When you get older, there's other things in life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, you know, Dr. Oz said the average American couple will make love once a week. If you make love 4 times a week, you're going to be healthier. Mm-hmm. I tell that to ladies, and they smile. They said, that's great. You know, and it is, but nobody puts it in the agenda.
Yeah.
That goes number 1 in my agenda.
Mm-hmm.
See, now we're going to look at a few jokes maybe, or I got some friends that are close to somebody, you know. Mm-hmm. So you got to balance that life out. And I'll tell you a story that I read in Spedbeck's book about Laurel and Hardy. It kind of shocked me. Babe Hardy's 3rd wife left him, and he met the gal, script girl on the set, and said, would you like to have dinner with me? She said that would be fine. It was at 10 in the morning. At 3 o'clock he had a couple of drinks, but at 3 o'clock he said, I'm sorry, but I don't think it would work out. I don't think you would have any fun with an old fat man. She said, okay, and he called her that next morning at home and said, I'm sorry to not follow up, but I just don't think you'd have any fun with an old fat man. That's what he thought of himself. And Stan said, I can't believe that. Because he was involved in making the film, Stan was. Mm-hmm. They only called Babe in when they were ready to shoot. But then they got hit with pies and got banged and knocked down. And he was brilliant at it. Mm-hmm. But what we're looking at is 24 hours a day. You and me, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, let's fill those with goodness. Somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you live in the present and say, hey, I can do something to help somebody, or I do something to help myself, or I can learn something. And I learned a song at a singing class. Jack Lloyd, who's a member, I called Jack one day, and I said, what are you doing? He said, I'm going to singing class at LA Valley College, picking up my friend Bernie. And I said, wait for me. And we went down there, we're going, you know, and all the kids are 18, 19, 20. And I had a lot of fun, you know. I have trouble with rhythm. I have no rhythm. I can't feel rhythms.
You have timing, but no rhythm.
That's right. That's right. And I started to get a sound.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I tell you what, you read, love it. Now there's a book that says 10,000 hours. You spend 10,000 hours at anything, you're going to get pretty good at it.
I hope.
That's right, and that's what life's about. I just finished a book called Talent is Overrated. And what it's about saying is, no, work, hard work. And the more you do something, when you're kids, I used to Walter Brennan, you know, well, John Chase, son, man's got to get it done. Now I'm at Lakeside Country Club. Walter comes in. John Rowick, Sheriff John, says, when I introduce you to Walter, do the voice. I said, okay. So it's Walter, Jim McGeorge. And Walter says, how are you? And I said, not bad. Hey, how you doing? He says, you don't do that too bad. I said, do what? And then I said, no, I did a scene that you and Gary Cooper did. And he said, oh, yeah. But it's hard work.
Yeah.
In other words, once you know that it's hard, Gene Perrette, Bob Hope's head writer, wrote a book called Breakfast with Archangel Shecky. And what you want to learn is a triangle of information. You want to have three sides filled with the same thought, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And he said the one side is town's overrated, right? Now he said you start with lousy. You've got to start with lousy of anything new. And then you work awfully hard and you get to good. And then you work and work and work and you get to great. And that's not the end. Then you get greater yet, you get more great, and you get even greater than that. And then the system won't deny you. And people in PBB have done that. They've put in a lot of hours. You've done a lot of hours recording and listening and hearing and studying and reading. So there's no shortcut. There's no soft, easy way.
No.
And once you know that, it's more fun. Once you realize that, and with the kids today, say, God, that's fun, because then you're not fooling yourself, and you don't feel guilty, and you don't feel like you want the soft, easy way.
Yeah. But I worry about the kids today who seem to want things handed to them on the silver platter.
That's right.
You know?
And it can't be done.
Can't be done. But didn't we think that at one point in our career, you know, way back when we were kids? No, we had to work for what we got, didn't we?
No, I tell you, my particular field, I think there are people that have seen affection, people that have more guidance early on. They're told what we're talking about now. For me, I found more peace of mind and I found more enjoyment in my later reading of psychology than I did in all the other stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think that life itself is going to tell you this.
No.
Fast cars are out there, money's out there, and you know, the houses are out there. But inside of you is peace of mind. Inside of you is John Wooden saying, there is no win or lose.
Yeah.
You do your best, that's good enough. Now let's see,
Right.
what can I do to do my best? Now I got to talk to you, I got to be here in the present moment. Maybe we'll see someone during the day that we can help along the trail somewhere, or we'll help ourselves, and I got to go and see a lady who has a trigeminal neuralgia.
Well, you've had quite a life, Jim.
Well, we're starting out. I had the big back operation. Laminectomy of 1 and 2, 2 and 3, 3 and 4, and 4 and 5.
How long ago was that?
That was 1 year ago. He said we got back as much as we're going to get back, but he said you were heading for a bed and a wheelchair and a bed in 6 months.
Wow.
And I hurt my back and started playing football, and then I worked for Pacific Food and Food, was lifting orange crates 6 high and running them into the line, and sacks of potatoes and all that. And my wrists are so strong. But yeah, and it's just fun to be with you. Fun to sit here and talk.
Sure.
And the meeting, now we just had the meeting, right?
Right.
Each show you do, you have to focus on that event. I can't bring in what I did Saturday at the Bohemian Club up there and just do those jokes, because I found out it doesn't work. And what happens is, when I came in, I was talking to Chuck, and I said, this room is too smart for my jokes. And he laughed, and he said, use. I said, I will.
Yeah.
Now that's the truth. They can feel the truth.
Right.
Then they can trust you.
Yeah. Yep. Very good. I'm trying to think what else we might be able to cover. Anything else you can think of?
No?
Okay.
No, I know a lady got on the bus with a small baby, and the bus driver looked over and said, that's the ugliest looking kid I've ever seen in my life. And she went to the back of the bus, and the tears were falling. And the gentleman there and said, what happened? He said, the bus driver insulted me. He said, reporting, do you have his number? She said, no. He said, you go up and get his number, and I'll hold your monkey.
Yeah. Oh boy.
And the women laugh at it. They get it. Yeah, because my kid's not like that, see?
I know.
Now, the older couple were at the fair, and they see a sign that says, helicopter rides $50. He said, Martha, I sure would like to go up that there helicopter. He said, Bert, $50 is $50. And the pilot overheard him and said, if you don't make any noise at all, the ride is free. He said, come on, Martha, let's go. And they flew around in that helicopter, and they landed. And the pilot walked over to him and said, I got to compliment you. You did not say one word. He said, I know that. I was going to say something when Martha fell out. But $50 is $50.
$50. Oh, dear. Well, on that note,
here's an ending. Here's an ending I did Saturday. I told a joke. I was talking to the doctor, and I said yesterday I was climbing up mountains and down mountains, and I was going through quicksand areas, and I had rattlesnake problems, and I went through a poison oak. He said, you must be a great outdoorsman. I said, no, I'm a bad golfer. And golf is tough when you get older. And I do a little song there, see. And I said, the course gets rougher, it's longer, and it's tougher. The grass is growing higher, every shot's a flyer. You keep protecting against the ball that got away. No more that youthful swing. You're slicing everything. There's nothing sadder than a man with angry chatter who can't control his bladder. Looking for the ball that got away. And I said, you know, ladies and gentlemen, you get a little love and a few laughs every day, and you're way ahead of the world. I had lunch with 7 of my friends, and the fellow across from me had a hot fudge sundae, and I said, why? He said, at my age, I want to enjoy the things I love most in life. And I want my lungs filled with good, clean air. I want to watch the rivers flow and the flowers and the trees grow. I want to be able to read a good book, have children and family in my life, have a little romance. And I want to have time to thank the man upstairs for the journey.
Very good. Very good. On that note, we will close this little session. We've been speaking with Jim McGeorge on this 18th day of June in 2012 in the CBS Studio Center lot in Studio Center, California. My name is Jerry Fry. I'm the audio historian of Pacific Pioneer Broadcasters. Thanking you very much for listening.